O eternal and almighty God, from whom all power and wisdom come, we are assembled here before thee to frame such laws as may tend to the welfare and prosperity of our province. Grant, O merciful God, we pray thee, that we may desire only that which is in accordance with thy will, that we may seek it with wisdom and know it with certainty and accomplish it perfectly. For the glory and honor of thy name and for the welfare of all our people. Amen. We acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, Dakota Oete, Dene Sulene, and Neothog nations. We acknowledge Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis. We acknowledge northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Please be seated. And before we begin, a couple of things. First, some of you may notice that there's someone in the gallery filming. That's a member of the Legislative Assembly staff who's doing things to make sure that things are recorded for our website purposes. And just a reminder to everyone else that no one else is allowed taking pictures in the Assembly. With that, the Honourable Government House Leader.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. Could you please canvass the House to see if there is leave to expedite consideration of Bill 41, the Provincial Court Amendment Act, as follows. 1. At the top of the orders of the day today, the House will consider second reading of Bill 41 with the following limited debate provisions to apply. A. First, the Minister of Justice may speak up to 5 minutes. B. Then a question period may be held in accordance with Sub-Rule 137, bracket 5. C. Next, a member of the official opposition may speak up to 5 minutes. D. Lastly, each independent member may speak up to 5 minutes. And E. The Speaker shall then put the question. 2. Once Bill 41 passes second reading, it shall then be referred to the Standing Committee on Social and Economic Development, which will meet at 3:30 this afternoon in room 255. 3. The House shall then resolve into the chamber section of the Committee of Supply to consider the concurrence motion. 4. On November 7th, 2024, the House will consider concurrence and third reading of Bill 41 during orders of the day government business, with the following limited debate provisions to apply. A. First, the Justice Minister may speak up to 5 minutes. B. Next, a member of the official opposition may speak up to 5 minutes. C. Lastly, each independent member may speak up to 5 minutes. And D. The Speaker shall then put the question.
Is there leave for the House to expedite consideration of Bill 41, the Provincial Court Amendment Act, as described by the Government House Leader? Leave has been denied. The Honourable Official Opposition House Leader.
Honourable Speaker, could you please canvass the House to see if there is leave to expedite consideration of Bill 41, the Provincial Court Amendment Act, and Bill 221, the Earlier Screening for Breast Cancer Act, on November 7th, 2024 as follows. At the top of the orders of the day, the House will consider second reading of Bill 41 with the following limited debate provisions to apply. First, the Minister of Justice may speak for up to 5 minutes. Then a question period may be held in accordance with Sub-Rule 137, bracket 5. Next, a member of the official opposition may speak for up to 5 minutes. Lastly, each independent member may speak for up to 5 minutes, and the Speaker shall then put the question. Once Bill 41 passes second reading, Bills 41 and 221 shall be immediately referred to the Committee of the Whole. Once the Committee of the Whole rises and the chairperson reports, the House will consider concurrence and third reading of Bills 41 and 221. The following limited debate provisions will apply to Bill 41. First, the bill sponsor may speak for up to 5 minutes. Next, a member of the official opposition may speak for up to 5 minutes. Lastly, each independent member may speak for up to 5 minutes, and the speaker shall then put the question. The following limited debate provisions will apply to Bill 221. First, the bill sponsor may speak for up to 5 minutes. Next, a member of the government may speak for up to 5 minutes. Lastly, each independent member may speak for up to 5 minutes, and the speaker shall then put the question. The House will not see the clock until all the House business outlined in this request has been completed.
Is there leave for the House to consider Bills 41 and Bill 221 as described by the official opposition House Leader? No. Leave has been denied. And before we progress, I have another statement here for the House. Before we continue proceedings, I wanted to make all members aware that as today is Take Our Kids to Work Day, and that throughout the day we'll be joined in the gallery by a number of grade 9 students and their parents, caregivers, and sponsors. I, or one of the presiding officers, will periodically be drawing attention of all honorable members to the public gallery throughout the afternoon to welcome them to the Legislative Assembly. With that in mind, I would like to draw members' attention to the public gallery, where we have with us a young lady by the name of Nikita, who is the special guest for the member for the Paw-Kamisak. And we have seated in the public gallery 30 students and accompanying parents from various government departments, and we welcome you all here today. I would like to draw the attention of all honorable members to the public gallery, where we have with us Cyril Abraham, a grade 9 student from Sir Morris School, who is here for Take Your Kid to Work Day with his mom, Reina Abraham, who works in the minister's office in the Advanced Education and Training, and they're guests of the honorable member for Southdale. And on behalf of all honorable members, we welcome you here today. Further, we have with us today in the public gallery, as part of Take Your Child to Work Day, Jada Isaacs, Nicholas Villeneuve, D'Angelo Irish, Lincoln Schott, who are guests of the honorable member for St. Vital. We also have with us Damien Smith Barr, who is a guest of the honorable member for Turtle Mountain. And on behalf of all honorable members, we welcome you here today. Further, in the public gallery, we have with us today Rob Nowsad, Nancy Eller, Ross and Chris Metcalf, Ross Smith, Ian James, Rick Capri, Dennis Adamanchuk, Gary Farkas, Marianne Ellert, who are guests of the honorable member for Roblin. On behalf of all honorable members, we welcome you here today. Further, in the public gallery, we have with us Rylan Staska, Alex Lloyd, Felina Salen, Brad Salen, who are guests of the honorable member for Lac de Bonnie. And we welcome you here today. We also have in the public gallery visiting us today Barb Montalabiti, visiting from Saskatoon, Kathy Pankratz, Vic Pankratz, who are guests of the Honourable Member for Waverley. And sorry for the pronunciation. Routine proceedings, introduction of bills, committee reports, ministerial statements. Tabling of reports, sorry, missed a step. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm pleased to table the following annual reports for Manitoba Justice: the 2023 Annual Report of the Law Enforcement Review Agency, the Annual Report for the Manitoba Law Foundation for the fiscal year 23-24, the Annual Report for the Manitoba Law Reform Commission for the fiscal year 23-24, and the Intimate Images Protection Act Comprehensive Review of the Act.
Further tabling of reports. Ministerial statements. The Honourable Minister of Advanced Education and Training.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to remember and honour the extraordinary life and legacy of Marie-Paul Ehosi, a remarkable student who left us far too soon at the age of 25. I want to recognize and offer my deepest sympathies to Marie-Paul's loved ones who are able to join us here today, as well as those who are in the homelands of Côte d'Ivoire, across Manitoba, and around the world who are watching online. Marie-Paul's passion for justice and equality was evident in every organization that she volunteered and worked for. Her unwavering dedication to advocate for the rights of both Canadian-born and international students has left an enduring mark across our province and country. As a member of the Board of Governors at the Université du Saint-Boniface, she brought a powerful voice to the table, championing the needs and rights of students with unwavering commitment. Her leadership as president of her university's Student Association and as Manitoba chairperson and International Student Commissioner for the Canadian Federation of Students demonstrated her dedication to ensuring that every student's voice was heard and valued. After years of serving as a volunteer and chairperson, Marie-Paul became the provincial organizer for the Canadian Federations of Students here in Manitoba. Her involvement extended beyond campuses and student communities. She served as vice president of the Ivorian Association of Manitoba, where she was deeply beloved and known for her kindness, community building skills, and heartfelt engagement. In addition, Marie-Paul was a program manager for the Manitoba Métis Federation in the 60 Scoop and Residential Schools Department. Marie-Paul was a beacon of hope and a source of strength. She was always ready to lend a helping hand and uplift those around her. In her 25 years, Marie-Paul accomplished more than many of us do in an entire lifetime. Her legacy is one of passion, commitment, and an unyielding belief in the power of community. She leaves a profound impact on our province, reminding all of us of the importance of standing up for what is right and building a better world for future generations. Many members and staff of the Legislature had the privilege of meeting and working with her over the years, and she has left an indelible mark on each of our lives. On behalf of the Government of Manitoba, I extend my heartfelt condolences to Marie-Paul's family, friends, and everyone's lives who she touched. We will forever cherish her memory and thrive to continue the work she so passionately believed in. Her spirit lives on in the hearts of all who were fortunate enough to know her and be inspired by her remarkable journey. I invite all members to honor Marie-Paul with a moment of silence.
Is there leave to have a moment of silence once all speakers have spoken to this? Agreed, and so ordered. The Honourable Member for Selkirk.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Marie-Paul was born on April 25th, 1999, and in her short 25 years, she made a profound impact on the lives of many. She made history as the first Black female chairperson of the Canadian Federation of Students, a role in which she broke barriers and became a voice for countless students across Canada. Marie came to Canada as an international student from the Ivory Coast. And like so many other courageous students who leave their home countries in search of a better future, she embraced the challenges of adapting to a new environment. From the moment she arrived, she dedicated herself to student advocacy, seeking to make life better for others in similar situations. Marie was just 25 years old when she tragically passed away from sickle cell disease, a life-threatening condition that causes abnormally shaped blood cells and impairs blood flow. Over 6,000 Canadians live with sickle cell disease, and Marie, despite her own health challenges, was a fierce advocate for international students' health care throughout her tenure as chairperson for the Canadian Federation of Students. Representation matters. It is essential to ensure that youth are inspired to pursue their goals and dreams. Marie was a role model for so many in her community and beyond. She was the first Black woman to sit on the Pan-Canadian Council of the Students' Association of Canada. Marie's passion for social justice and activism began early in life. At just 9 years old, she delivered her first public speech, and from that moment on, she never stopped using her voice for good. Her activism was rooted in her deep belief in fairness and equity. She used her platform to advocate not only for students, but for anyone who faced systemic injustice. Marie's courage to speak out, to stand up for what is right, and to never settle for less than what was fair was a guiding light for so many. Her friends remember her as, and I quote, an approachable and generous person always ready to reach out and build bridges between different cultures, end quote. Marie's compassion and dedication to others left a lasting impact, and it is vital that we recognize the profound influence she had in shaping the present and the future. Let us honor her legacy here in Manitoba and across Canada. Marie Paul's work will continue to inspire youth and communities for years to come. To quote Marie herself, "I was born with something inside of me that refuses to settle for average. I don't know what that is, but I am grateful I have it." We extend our deepest condolences to Marie's family, friends, and colleagues. Her hard work, passion, and dedication will never be forgotten.
Would everyone rise now for a moment of silence to honor Marie's name? Member statements. The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today, I would like to recognize the incredible efforts of the staff and owners of the Prairie Crocus Thrift Shop, who have been devoted to supporting Manitobans struggling with addictions. Through their charitable work, they have become a beacon of hope in their community, contributing to the establishment of a transitional housing location in Winnipeg called Riverwood House. Riverwood House, Prairie Crocus Thrift Shop's latest investment, represents an innovative approach to bridging the housing gap. It provides residents with a supportive environment where they can gradually work towards independent living with access to essential resources through on-site staff and a network of dedicated partners. The funds raised by this small but impactful shop enable individuals ready to advance in their recovery journey to do so with active peer support and collaboration with neighborhood resources, developing the skills and education needed for independent living. The staff and management of Prairie Crocus Thrift Shop are deeply committed to putting community first, with a mission to create a lasting positive impact by supporting initiatives and spaces that transform lives. Their sponsorship of Riverwood House, along with fundraising efforts for organizations like React Center Winnipeg, highlight the importance of creating safe, respectful environments that support holistic healing for those battling addiction. Organizations like Prairie Crocus Thrift Shop set a standard of care that empowers our Rossmere community and beyond, and I am proud to introduce this remarkable organization to the House today. I would like to invite all of my colleagues to welcome two of their team to the House today, Amber Smith and Faye Schultz. Thank you so much for your work.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, today is Our Kids to Work Day. Grade 9 students from across Canada will have the opportunity to spend the day at work, job shadowing a parent, caregiver, or a volunteer host. The program creates opportunities for career exploration and community engagement. Organized by the Students' Commission of Canada and sponsored by the RBC Future Launch, the program is the most recognized career exploration program in Canada and is a great opportunity for young Manitoba students to develop their career aspirations and work ethic. The Student Commission provides leadership tools and information to help facilitate youth and adult mentoring and opportunities through Take Your Kid to Work Day. The theme of this year's Take Our Kids to Work Day is breaking barriers and transforming communities. In my office, we are fortunate to have two grade 9 students from École Edward Schreyer School in Beausejour participating in Take Our Kids to Work Day, and they are here today at the Manitoba Legislature. I am very pleased that Rylan Staska and Alex Lloyd have chosen to participate with us and learn about careers in politics and government. They are learning about our workplace and public service under the direction of Peggy Wozni Staska, my constituency assistant, and we want to make their experience here today as impactful as possible. Also, we have Felina Sellen, who attends MBCI, is here today with her father, Brad, who is no stranger to these chambers, Honourable Speaker. Damien Smith-Berry, a student at Verdun Collegiate Institute, is also joining us here today under the direction of Shauna Smith, constituency assistant for my colleague, the MLA for Turtle Mountain. Thank you to all the staff at the Legislature that have helped arrange for the students participating to attend the luncheon and enjoy a guided tour of our beautiful legislative building. I know they will learn a great deal about the history of the building while they are here. I thank Rylan, Alex, Felina, and Damien for joining us here today, and I hope they can take positive experiences from the Ledge back to their school to help inform their fellow students. I wish them all the best in their future endeavors and their careers. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for McPhillips.
Honourable Speaker, it's been a little over a year since forming government, and we are making important progress in strengthening our economy. Manitoba is a diverse province, abundant with opportunities, resources, and home to skilled professionals brimming with incredible potential. Our economy is growing and consistently generating fresh opportunities for hardworking Manitobans. Today, I wanted to share some of those initiatives and exciting developments. We understand that successfully transitioning Manitoba to a low-carbon economy hinges on keeping the needs and the concerns of working Manitobans at the forefront of what we do. We introduced the gas tax holiday as of January 1st of this year, extended it, and Manitobans continue to benefit from this tax relief. This measure saves Manitobans money and has directly contributed to helping lower inflation in our province. To create green jobs and lower emissions, our government has invested in NFI's all-Canadian build expansion. This will create more green jobs for Manitobans and put us on the path to zero-emission public transportation. This, along with our affordable energy plan and our critical mineral strategy, will foster economic growth and environmental sustainability. Thanks to a thriving economy, Manitoba recently saw 5,100 new jobs added, including 3,300 jobs in the private sector, making Manitoba one of the fastest growing job markets in the country. Manitoba has a lot to offer, not only on the national stage, but the international as well. Our government knows that there's a market for our energy, resources, and expertise. Manitobans deserve a strong, sustainable economy that empowers them to continue supporting their families and help secure their future. Young Manitobans want to see this province as a place to build a future in. Our government is helping build that future day in and day out. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The honourable member for Roblin.
Honourable Speaker, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to rise in the House today to honour Jim's Vintage Garages, a heritage museum located in Headingley in the beautiful constituency of Roblin. Jim and Vivian Pern were the owners of a very large and valuable collection of automotive and petroleum industry memorabilia, which they had arranged and displayed in a building in their backyard in Headingley. They offered to donate the collection, worth approximately $1 million at the time, to the rural municipality of Headingley. This set the wheels in motion that culminated in the creation of Jim's Vintage Garages. A community fundraising committee was struck in the fall of 2003 to raise money to build a facility capable of housing this incredible collection. They set to work, applying for grants, organizing fundraising drives, and knocking on doors. In 2004, after acquiring donations from the RM, many significant grants, and numerous very generous private donations, construction started. A natural choice was to build a structure that was attached to the new Headingley Community Centre, which was just in the process of being completed. The Pern collection was then transferred to the new facility in September 2004. It required 27 trailer loads to complete the move. A volunteer committee made up of several residents spent the winter of 2004 and into spring 2005 recreating the displays. Jim's Vintage Garages was officially opened on May 14, 2005, and after nearly 20 years, it continues on, thanks to the hard work of a dedicated volunteer board that oversees the collection and museum, car shows, and various events held at the museum. Jim's Vintage Garages will be having an open house on Saturday, December 28th from noon to 4, and I invite all Manitobans to stop by and visit this amazing heritage museum. Joining us in the gallery today are Nancy Eller, Rob Noasad, Ross Metcalf, who's one of the original board members from 2003, and Chris Metcalf, Ross Smith, Ian James, Rick Capri, Dennis Adamanchuk, Marianne Ellert, and Gary Farkas. Thank you to the board for their ongoing efforts in preserving this valuable and very interesting heritage collection. I invite all honourable members to join me in acknowledging their good work.
Before moving on, I have a couple more introductions to make. First, we have Carly Schmidt, daughter of the Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change, and Anna Wiebe, daughter of the Minister of Justice, in the public gallery. We welcome you here today. We also have with us today for Take Your Kids to Work Day from the Legislative Assembly Human Resources and from the Office of the Auditor General. We have 3 grade 9 students, and I met them earlier today in my office, so welcome to the chamber. Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Manitobans are less safe today than a year ago. They feel less safe. They are less safe. Random, unprovoked attacks have become so commonplace that the Winnipeg Police Service is in the media encouraging people who find themselves downtown to be hyper-vigilant. One officer suggested to me that the safest thing people can do in downtown is to pretend they're the NDP and always look behind them. Safer communities require more than just news releases. Why is this Premier's only solution is to burn out our police service?
The Honourable First Minister.
As the leader of the provincial government, I want to take this opportunity to say that America is our closest friend and most important ally. I want to congratulate President-elect Donald Trump on his re-election, and also to say to you, the people of this great province, you are always my #1 priority, standing up for you, for your safety, and for your jobs. We are going to continue to work with the people of this province to advance national security, economic security, Arctic security, and energy security, and we will do so by strengthening the trade relationship with the United States of America. Along the way, we will always ensure that we stand up for Canadian values. First and foremost, that most fundamental of all Canadian values, that every person should have access to free, universal, public health care. And when it comes to public safety, we know that the members opposite froze funding for law enforcement for years. They turned a blind eye to the addictions crisis. We're working
Time
hard.
has expired. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, police are burnt out. Manitobans are exhausted, and the Justice Minister sails around on the SS Minnow claiming mission accomplished. Every day, Manitobans open the news only to read about some fresh new attack on a senior, on a child, on a newcomer, or on a bus driver. NDP told Manitobans they would fix the system. NDP told Manitobans that they would reform bail. A simple question for the Premier, and hopefully he can stand up and answer this. In the last 12 months, of the hundreds and hundreds of assaults and thefts, how many criminals had their bail denied so they were not free to continue on their crime spree?
Question.
The Honourable First Minister.
Keeping people safe in the community each and every day is one of the top priorities of our government. And I want to take this opportunity to say that what our Attorney General and Minister of Justice has been doing is starting to show results after years of inaction under the Progressive Conservatives. We go to the business community and they say that the retail theft initiative that he undertook over the summer is helping to bring more business into the store and keeping people safer in the community. At the same time, we go to law enforcement, and what does law enforcement, the National Police Federation, say? Well, and I quote, they say, we call on the federal government as well as provincial and territorial governments to follow Manitoba's lead on public safety and root causes of crime with concrete solutions. End quote. The days of Manitoba being last under the PCs are over. There's still more work to be done, but we are making a difference for you, the people of this great province.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
So, Honourable Speaker, I ask you, Manitobans, do you feel safer in your communities than you did a year ago? I don't think so, and I doubt that, because we here on this side of the House hear that each and every day coming from hardworking Manitobans. The Premier doesn't like defense attorneys. The Premier doesn't like the police. The Premier doesn't like accountability. The only thing this Premier likes about the justice system is when it fails to hold him to account. How many Manitobans need to be bear sprayed, stabbed, and run over before this Premier realizes that his hug-a-thug mentality is failing Manitobans, Honourable Speaker?
The Honourable First Minister.
I want to say to all the young people who are here for Take Our Kids to Work Day that you belong in this chamber, that you could serve the people of this great province so long as you go to school, you work hard, and you put the people first. Now, how do we do that on this side of the House? Well, we talk about the issues. When it comes to public safety, we talk about more funding for law enforcement, which the members opposite voted against last week. We talk about more supports for young people to stay on a positive path, like a school food program, which again, the members opposite voted against last week. One thing that we don't do on this side of the House is try to make it personal. That's right. When you know you're losing an argument when you try to make it personal. So I'd encourage all the young people here, stick to the facts, stick to the issues. That's the path to winning in life.
There we go.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a new question.
So once again, Honourable Speaker, the Premier gets up and tries to dodge the question and deny the accountability that he should actually be taking for his failings, Honourable Speaker. I quote, "Please don't shoot me," end quote. These were the words uttered by a Winnipeg Transit driver mere blocks from this very building and directly in front of the Winnipeg Police Service headquarters when they had a gun pointed at their face. According to the Executive Vice President of Winnipeg's Transit Union, and I quote, "The acts of violence on transit are rising. It's like the Wild West out there. Every seems to be armed." His comment bears repeating. It's like the Wild West out there. The transit union reports that the number of violent incidents on public transit has almost doubled since the NDP took office. Will this premier, why is he unwilling to punish the criminals that at least protect so he could at least protect the city staff instead of putting himself first once again as he
Member's time has expired. The Honourable First Minister.
Well, once again, let's talk about the issues. So young people in the audience, guests who are watching today, what is leading to many of the challenges that we're seeing in our society today? I'll go out there and say what everyone's thinking: drugs. The members opposite had 2 terms in government to bring the hammer down on drug traffickers. They did nothing. Our Attorney General did within the first session. He is making a difference to give law enforcement more tools to prevent toxic drugs from coming into our communities. What did they do? They voted against that bill. Now, of course, we also know that you have to prevent addictions and offer a path to treatment. So what is our team doing? Led by the Minister of Health, there is a path to recovery, there is a path to staying alive, and there is a path to a better tomorrow when Manitobans are ready for that. But what we don't do on this side of the House is to resort to gimmicks and to slogans. We know that you Manitobans are smart, you are looking for comprehensive solutions, and we will talk to you in a mature, adult fashion to ensure that you understand that we take your public
Member's
safety
time has
so
expired.
seriously.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, this premier is handing out drugs with no plan to dispose of or pick up the used needles that are in our children's playgrounds, Honourable Speaker. Winnipeg Transit Union President Chris Scott has said things have only gotten worse under the Canoe government. Quote, incidents on buses are becoming more violent in nature, and they are, in the majority of cases, unprovoked. Imagine that, Honourable Speaker. You are simply trying to get to work for your appointments using public transportation has become the NDP's transit version of Russian roulette. Transit has become so unsafe that even the Premier avoids it, preferring his personal driver and security detail. If the MLA for Fort Rouge has his safety getting to work guaranteed, why don't 172,000 Winnipeggers who use rapid transit and transit weekly to do what they need to do to coexist in this great province of ours, Honourable Speaker?
The Honourable First Minister.
It's a shame to see that the member opposite is emboldened to bring rhetoric like that into the chamber. That's right. This is a sacred and hallowed hall. This is the seat of our democracy. The rights which bring us here were forged and anointed with the blood of our veterans. We know that public safety is an important priority. We know that addressing the scourge of addictions in our communities is an important way to cut off these violent acts from happening in our communities. At the same time, if somebody does something wrong in the streets, they need to be stopped and they need to be held accountable. We are tough on crime and tough on the causes of crime. On the other side, all they have are slogans and catchphrases, and that's why they're sitting there. We have been invested the opportunity to serve you, the great people of Manitoba. Our team is proving results. We recognize there's more to do, and that's why we keep coming to work, working hard for you.
Outstanding.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
So, Honourable Speaker, to you, Manitobans, you heard the Premier today. Are you feeling safer today than you did a year ago? No. I don't think so. Absolutely not, Honourable Speaker, is what we're hearing on a day-to-day basis. Apparently, power has its privileges, Honourable Speaker. And if there is one thing the NDP have shown is that they enjoy their privileges. And what do transit users get? A snitch line. Wow, Honourable Speaker. This is rich coming from this Premier. Transit users should not be second-class citizens when it comes to violence. Will this Premier stand today in the House and assure transit users that they will have similar level of protection as he demands, or can he even see through those blacked out windows of his SUV?
The Honourable First Minister.
Manitobans, did you feel safer with Heather Stephenson? running the provincial government?
No.
All Heather Stephenson did was pick fights with police chiefs and cut funding to the municipal police agencies. Heather Stephenson was a failure in public health and when it came to the addictions crisis. Every single member of that team chose to run under the banner of Heather Stephenson. And what did she campaign on? Not searching the Prairie Green landfill. The idea that you would politicize the families of murder victims is completely offside and should never, ever be a part of politics. It's one of the worst things that's ever been done in politics in Canada, and they are guilty of it. On this side of the House, we said we are going to be tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. 1 year in, there's more law enforcement. There are more programs to help young people stay on a positive path, and there is food in every single school in the province. There is more work to do.
Time has expired. The honourable member for Midland.
Honourable Speaker, it's now too late for the minister to do the right thing and let the public have input on his undemocratic and flawed BITSA bill. He rushed this bill through so quickly and without proper scrutiny that he had to make major amendments to his own legislation at the 11th hour. This is what happens when due process takes a back seat. Will the minister commit today to at the very least let the non-budget items stand on their own merit and introduce them as separate bills?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. You know, for many years, 7.5 years to be precise, Manitobans had to endure cuts. Cuts to health care, cuts to education, cuts to childcare, cuts to municipalities, and on and on and on. Finally, on October 3rd, they elected a government that understood the importance of the priorities they'd set forward. They wanted to see a government investing in health care, making life more affordable. We brought forward a budget that delivered on those commitments. We're proud of that BITSA bill because that BITSA bill delivers on our budget and those promises we made to Manitobans.
The honourable member for Midland on a supplementary question.
The Minister of Labour made it clear her bill on the back of BITSA was amended because of selective consultation. The NDP are not only picking winners and losers, but they're picking and choosing who gets to have a voice in Manitoba. This is not how legislation in Manitoba is passed. The great thing about our democratic process is public committees where each and every Manitoban gets the same 10 minutes to have their say, regardless of political stripe, occupation, or geographic location. Why is this minister hiding from Manitobans? Is he just too scared to face the Manitobans who disagree with him?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, again, we're incredibly proud of that BITSA bill because that BITSA bill enacts a budget that we know Manitobans were waiting for 7.5 years. That's right? One important thing that the members opposite failed to recognize here is that what did they do with their BITSA bills? Well, one of the things that they did in 2020 was to bring forward a hydro rate increase in a BITSA bill for the first time in this province's history. Never before has a government tried to legislate a hydro rate increase on Manitobans. That's their record, using new and novel ways of making life more expensive using BITSA. What are we doing with BITSA? We're making life more affordable.
The honourable member for Midland on a final supplementary question.
The hypocrisy coming from this minister where he himself is allowing his cabinet to set hydro rates at the cabinet table by 4% increases annually. I get the minister's hesitation with wanting to go to committee. His fuel tax bill was deeply flawed and he had to sit late into the hours of the night while members of the public tried to fix his mistakes. This is exactly why we have public committee, and the public should not be disenfranchised just because this government has failed to properly plan their House business. The minister should pull the schedules off the back of his bill for the sake of democracy. So this is his last chance. Does he have the courage to pull the schedules off of BITSA, or will he put his party's secret agenda above democracy?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, we're proud. We're proud of what we brought forward in that BITSA because that BITSA bill brings forward, again, things that Manitobans have been waiting for 7.5 years. We know that the members opposite hear that from folks in their community, that they failed to do that important work of making life more affordable. Here they have an opportunity with that BITSA bill. They had an opportunity, rather, to support that work. They didn't want to support that. We know that they don't understand the challenges Manitobans are facing. We do. That's why that BITSA bill reflects those important changes we're bringing forward to make life more affordable, advance investments in healthcare. That's the work Manitobans can expect from our government, and we're going to continue doing that work proudly.
The honourable member for Agassiz.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Yesterday, we confirmed this minister has no idea what she's talking about. We asked about the fact that she's hidden legislation from public input. What this minister fails to comprehend is that by avoiding public committee, she's picking and choosing who she listens to. Why did this minister allow her legislation to be stapled onto BITSA and dodge public accountability?
The Honourable Minister for Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Members opposite have accused us unfairly of rushing to legislation. On the contrary, Honourable Speaker, workers across Manitoba, the people of Manitoba have been waiting for this ban on replacement workers since the 1970s, and we're finally bringing in this historic legislation 50 years later under this Canoe government. Honourable Speaker, this members opposite are accusing us of hiding. Why would we hide when we are so proud of this historic legislation? I was standing here day after day after day trying to put in a standalone bill, and it was actually members opposite who actually stopped this. Have they forgotten what they did?
Time has expired. The honourable member for Agassiz on a supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Not everyone has been waiting for this legislation. Not all workers have been waiting for this legislation. The minister claims to respect that all workers, but as merit contractors describe her Bill 7, quote, threatens the freedom of open shop contractors in Manitoba. Her legislation is a major threat to Manitobans' way of life. This government has appointed union leaders to major boards and won't even acknowledge open shop contributions. Why is there such a power imbalance in access to this minister?
The Honourable Minister for Labour and Immigration.
Honourable Speaker, members opposite are putting false information on the record once again. We are proud as an NDP government here, the Canoe government, to put both workers and employers together working for a better Manitoba, to build this province together. Honourable Speaker, let me remind members opposite how they stood here day after day after day with false and frivolous, matters of privilege that were all ruled incorrect by this same Honourable Speaker. Got it. And because they did that, we were not able to bring a standalone bill. We were not able to bring a standalone bill.
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Based off the minister's comments in this House, she seems to treat open shop contractors in the province like her mother-in-law. She begrudgingly accepts the work they do is vital, but she still doesn't like them. If we can't get the minister to focus on Manitobans' needs instead of her personal life, can she explain why one of her first orders of business was to threaten the very existence of open shop contractors?
The Honourable Minister for Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. You know, members opposite, I'm not sure what they're doing right now because they still don't have a leader, but that's okay. On this side of the House, we have a very, very strong leader, the most popular leader in Canada right now. It really is a new Manitobans. It's a new day for workers, and we're going to be building this province together with bigger projects. I think the member opposite is talking about the repeal on the ban on project labor agreements. That is actually going to be one of the things that we're going to be using to be able to build Manitoba together.
Member's time is expired. The honourable member for Spruce Woods.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. With the minister's announcement on Monday, Manitoba will now have the lowest standard of required math credit hours for those pursuing the teaching profession in the country. How does this minister think that that is going to improve educational outcomes for Manitoba students?
The honourable minister for Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And as the Acting Minister of Education and Early Childhood Learning, I would be remiss not to put a few words on the record and to welcome the many, many grade 9 students that are here with us today. We are so very proud of all of you. We welcome you so warmly to what is the People's Building. This is your building. We had the opportunity, our caucus, just prior to question period, Honourable Speaker, had the great privilege of hearing from some of these grade 9 students directly. We heard some of their feedback about the education system. They're looking for a later start time, so something we'll consider. We'll certainly talk about that in the caucus room. Happy to answer the question further in my next opportunity.
Time has expired. The honourable member for Spruce Woods on a supplementary question.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I too would like to welcome all the students into the building. Actually, the first time I entered this building was Take Your Kid to Work Day. I came with the former member for Riding Mountain, Leanne Rowett, and had a wonderful experience that day, the first time I ever set foot in this building. But the minister didn't answer the question. With her decision on Monday, a teacher who applies for a K-8 job may not have taken a single math class since they themselves were in high school. So how does this minister think that decision is going to improve math outcomes for Manitoba students?
The honourable minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Honourable Speaker, the truth of the matter is that after 7.5 years of a failed Heather Stephenson government, where teachers and educators were driven out of the system by cuts to operational funding, in some parts of our province, we are seeing a teacher shortage. So these regulatory changes that we have made, that we are very, very proud of, are actually going to bring us in line with most other jurisdictions across Canada and are going to remove barriers to allow more educators to come into our system to serve some of these amazing students that are here with us today.
The honourable member for Spruce Woods on a final supplementary question.
Well, Honourable Speaker, everything the minister just said is factually incorrect. We required 6 credit hours of math learning for people pursuing education. That was in line with British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and some of the maritime provinces. Quebec has more stringent requirements for educators taking education and learning math. We will now be the lowest standard in the country. The minister says she's proud of the fact that she's addressing a teacher shortage by lowering standards for math learning for people pursuing a career in education. How is that going to improve outcomes in mathematics for Manitoba students?
The honourable minister for Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Yesterday, the member opposite called me illiterate. Today, he calls me incorrect. The fact of the matter is that he is incorrect. These regulatory changes we are very proud of. They're going to remove barriers. We're going to see more teachers here in Manitoba, more internationally trained teachers, more French language speaking teachers, more teachers in the north. Again, after years and years of a failed PC government that saw teachers walking out the door, we have now hired more than 630 educators back into our system. People want to work here in Manitoba. They want to educate students. We have reached a historic deal with teachers. We are serving Manitobans, and we are serving these kids here today.
The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie.
Work hard. Accomplish what you want. Not today in Manitoba. Honourable Speaker, we have heard there are not enough technicians to run MRIs in our province. Yet the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology and the BC Institute of Technology are not only offering virtual classes, but taking our Manitoba students, leading to job offers out of Manitoba.
Great.
I know Manitoba colleges would love to help fill this need. So why has this government refused to work with Manitoba institutions to develop a local program to keep students here?
Yep, good job. The Honourable Minister for Advanced Education and Training.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I thank the member for the question. I too will acknowledge all of the grade 9 students who are up in the rafters here today. Please know that there are, thank you, the gallery. Please know that your government is working hard for you to make sure that there are opportunities for you to stay and work in Manitoba. We have a phenomenal cost of living, we have great things to do here, and we have really excellent colleges and universities that are affordable and will allow you to get the education that you need here in this province.
The Honourable Member for Portage-La Prairie on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, during Monday's private member statement, I highlighted how the Portage Hospital Foundation has distributed over $100,000 in bursaries to help medical staff with training. Has this minister had any discussions with the Portage Hospital Foundation about opportunities to possibly help fund training for diagnostic staff?
Good question. The Honourable Minister for Advanced Education and Training.
Honourable Speaker, I'm grateful for the question. I question the tone, though. On this side of the House, we're proud to work with every partner. We know that the big things, we have to do them together. So we will work with foundations, we'll work with private donors, we'll work directly with our post-secondaries to get the work done. We listen to students, we listen to educators, and we know that in order to build this province together, we can't continue with the divisiveness that we hear from the members opposite. And we need to work together to get the job done. I welcome conversations with anyone who is willing to invest in our post-secondaries and invest in the future of our province.
The Honourable Member for Portage-La Prairie on a final supplementary
Honourable Speaker,
question.
just to let you know, the Hospital Foundation has asked for meetings. Honourable Speaker, with my colleague from Roblin's recommendation to reduce breast screening to 40 years old, our need for mammograms will continue to grow. If an abnormality is detected during a mammogram, the next step for the patient will be an MRI. With a very well-respected breast cancer specialist right in Portage-La Prairie, does this minister not see an opportunity to create a one-stop hub for breast cancer detection and treatment at the new Portage-La Prairie Regional Health Care Facility?
Yeah, good job. The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Honourable Speaker, just a few weeks ago, the Premier and I had the opportunity to meet with that expert and to do the work collaboratively of making sure that we understand how to build capacity here in our own province and make sure that women and those who need access to breast cancer screening now and in the future as we lower the screening age are able to do so. We heard very clearly from this doctor and others that mammography services are a priority for them, which is why we're working directly with the experts, the community and the health leaders to make sure we're investing in more capacity here in our own province across Manitoba. We're going to continue to build those relationships and not take a divisive, harmful approach like members opposite.
Right on. Well done.
The Honourable Member for Riel.
Honourable Speaker, we know that cold and flu season is well underway. Our government has prioritized healthcare since Manitobans elected us to fix the mess the PC's made. Part of that responsibility is making sure that Manitobans are aware of what they can do themselves, to protect themselves, their families, and their communities. Can the Minister of Health tell us how Manitobans can help prevent cold, flu, and COVID from spreading in our communities and the options for folks to do their part?
The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
I want to thank my colleague, the MLA for Real, for that really important question. COVID and flu vaccines are readily available and are essential tools to protecting yourself, your loved ones, and our communities during respiratory virus season. Folks can get both the flu and COVID shots in one visit. That means one visit and 2 shots at that time. And I encourage all Manitobans to do that as soon as you can. This can be done at your local pharmacy, like the MLA for Kirkfield Park and I did just a few weeks ago, at medical clinics, access centers, or at your family doctor when you're there for a visit. On this side of the House, we take public health very seriously. We know that accessing vaccines is a fundamental, important part of protecting ourselves across the province and our healthcare system. We're going to continue to do the work of making sure Manitobans get access, and then we continue to fix the damage done and clean up the mess of the previous PC government. Thank you.
Good job.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Yesterday, the minister stated that she was recently in Swan River, Manitoba, and had the opportunity to meet with local leadership. Her answer to cleaning up the needle debris that has plagued this community is the formation of a crack commando committee. Here's a question so simple that this minister should be able to respond without looking at notes. Who is on her crack commando committee? And more importantly, how many of the 500,000 needles that are littering Swan River have they picked up and safely disposed of?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
So again, that side of the House has learned nothing about learning to work with other people. The Sharps Disposable Committee is made up of local people from community and partners. We have nothing to do with this committee. We are working alongside them. The community actually put this committee together. So we are actually just supporting the work that the community is doing, something that members opposite never know how to do. They only know how to take a divisive stance. They can't work with city, they can't work federally, they can't work municipally, and they can't work collaboratively. We will not take that stance. We will continue to work, and safety is our #1 priority, and getting people access to the supports that they need. That's the stance that
time has expired. The honourable member for Brandon West on a supplementary question.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker. Daycares, playgrounds, sidewalks, parks, and all open spaces are littered with the NDP needle debris all throughout Swan River. 500,000 needles have been distributed in a town of only 4,000 people. But never fear, the minister is on the case with her forming the crack commando committee and feigning the outrage. I've repeatedly asked the minister what steps the NDP government has taken to safely clean up the debris without a single answer. So I'll ask again, what concrete actions has the government taken to support the safe disposal of used needles?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addictions and Homelessness.
So let me remind members opposite. In 2021, they distributed 200,000 needles without any disposal plan at all. In 2022, they distributed 300,000 needles in Swan River without any disposal plan. This came to our attention. We started working with the municipality right away on a disposal plan. We will take no lessons from members opposite. We are working with the municipality. We have met with them and will continue to work collaboratively, something members opposite doesn't know. We will continue to connect people with care, and we will continue to work on what's
time
needed.
has expired. The honourable member for Lakeside.
Honourable Speaker, with the Premier speculating on higher taxes and fees at the municipal level, and this NDP cabinet increasing education taxes by $148 million and school taxes by as much as 17%, Manitobans are wondering where will the tax increases end? This NDP government is getting billion-dollar windfalls from the federal government and has record revenues levels from PST and income taxes flowing in. So will this minister and premier say no to more taxes and instead share more of these growth revenue streams with the City of Winnipeg and Manitoba municipalities?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Our government is doing something very important, and that is lowering taxes for Manitobans. Starting with our fuel tax holiday, which again, it gives me such great pleasure to stand here in this House and talk about that measure we took right after getting into government, January 1st. Since that day, Manitobans have saved money every single time they head to the pump. And over the course of the year that it will have been in place, we're estimating $500 back into Manitobans' pockets. That's the real work of making life more affordable. They made life more expensive for 7.5 years. We're going to keep doing that work every single day. Good job.
The Honourable Member for Fort Garry.
If you're a premier who drives around in a taxpayer-funded limousine, you may not be personally feeling the cost of living crisis, but Manitobans very much are. Food Banks Canada reports that low-income working Manitobans, renters, single people, racialized and disabled Manitobans are using food banks the most. This at a time that major grocery store chains are making record profits. The premier said he's going to call the bluff of the big supermarket chains to get them to lower prices. Yet prices are at an all-time high. The premier's been in office for a year and continues to take no action. Manitobans work very hard to pay for that premier's limousine. Question is, when will the premier start working for them?
The Honourable Minister for Environment and Climate.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I would like to remind Manitobans, because it's something that I'm very proud of, that we continue to have the most popular premier across Canada. And that's for a lot of reasons, Honourable Speaker. That's because of the tone that he sets. That's because of the leadership that he provides. But it's also because of the work of our team. And in Budget 2024, we've delivered not one, not two, but 21 ways to save, Honourable Speaker. Where the previous government failed to take action, our government immediately took action, and on January 1st, we implemented a gas tax holiday.
The Honourable Member for Fort Garry on a supplementary question.
Harvest Manitoba says that over 50,000 Manitobans use the food bank every month. That's the highest number ever. In Manitoba, 6% increase over the past year with the Premier in office. Vince Barletta, CEO of Harvest Manitoba, tells CBC, "What stays with me is that we keep going in the wrong direction." He says people are running to food banks because of high cost of housing and food inflation. This Premier continue to ignore the cost of living crisis. Will the Premier listen to Harvest Manitoba and implement a food security strategy for Manitoba?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And wow, am I glad to be able to stand up and put a few words on the record about the great work of Harvest Manitoba. Many of our team were able to recently celebrate with them at their annual fundraising gala. The work that Harvest Manitoba does, the folks that work there, is absolutely incredible. They also partner with us on our Universal Nutrition Program, Honourable Speaker. Where under the previous government, schools had to rely only on the nonprofit sector, with the new Premier Canoe government, we have partnered with schools, a $30 million historic investment that is seeing kids across this province being fed. We will take no lessons from the member opposite.
The Honourable Member for Fort Garry on a final supplementary
The effects of high inflation on Manitobans depends on how much money they can earn. If you're driving around in a chauffeur-driven, taxpayer-funded limousine, you may not be feeling the effects as much as a single person living on disability. We know that Manitoba is facing a food inflation crisis at the same time as a housing crisis. Together, they make up 46% in the rise of inflation. 70% of food bank users do not have children. The Premier has ignored these Manitobans. He's focused on tax cuts for the wealthy and corporate welfare. Will the Premier finally commit on action on bringing down food prices today?
The Honourable First Minister.
We're combating hunger by making sure that there's food in every single school in this province. I want to take this time to give a shout out to my guest for Take Our Kids to School Day, Ella. And I want to share with the House that so far today, Ella has chaired a cabinet meeting. Yep. She's delivered the opening comments at our caucus meeting, and she has handed down tons of new direction to our hardworking acting education minister. Now to Ella and to all of the young people who are here today, I want to say that we have been so inspired by your smarts and all the passion and energy you bring to the building today. On behalf of our team and all the MLAs in the chamber, we know that we're only keeping your spots warm until you're ready to lead.
The time for a question period has expired. Petitions, grievances, orders of the day, government business, the official government House Leader.
Very good. Honourable Speaker, can you resume debate on the concurrence motion in the committee?
We will now resume debate on the concurrence motion in Committee of Supply. If I could have one of the Assistant Deputy Speakers take the chair.
Will the Committee of Supply please come to order? The committee shall resume consideration of the motion moved by the Honourable Minister of Justice yesterday, that the Committee of Supply concur in all supply resolutions relating to the estimates of expenditure for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025, which have been adopted at the session, whether by a section of the Committee of Supply or by the full committee. For the information of all members, on November 4th, 2024, the official opposition House Leader tabled the list of ministers to be called for questioning in debate on the concurrence motion. In accordance with that list, all members of Cabinet will be questioned concurrently. The floor is open for questions. The member for Midland.
Thank you, Chairperson. While the Minister of Finance was in opposition, he's on the record consistently criticizing any increases to hydro rates. Yet he's now given himself and his Cabinet colleagues the ability to raise hydro rates as high as 4% annually. Why is this minister wanting to raise hydro rates by 4% when hydro themselves only requested a rate increase of just 2% earlier this year? This is the exact opposite of what government should be doing to help make life more affordable for Manitobans. The former PC government kept rates low for Manitoba ratepayers, and to remind the minister, residential electricity rates were the second lowest in the country under the former PC government. The NDP inherited low hydro rates, and now they want to raise them by 4% annually on the backs of Manitobans, despite the minister himself consistently criticizing any increase to hydro in the past. From Hansard on October 26, 2021, and I quote, "Manitobans will never know if these hydro rate increases were actually required. We will not know because the rate increase is set at the Cabinet table instead of the PUB. Quote, the interference should stop." These are the minister's own words, and the hypocrisy is astounding. Not only has the minister gone back on his own words of record, but now he has completely broken his election promise to freeze hydro rates. So I'll ask the minister yet again, and I've asked this question before, when is his promised hydro rate freeze will be delivered to Manitobans? How will he pay for the rate freeze? Is he going to stand by his own words and then reverse the 4% annual rate increase that he and his Cabinet colleagues have approved? And how will it impact the summary budget?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Chair. I love having opportunities to talk about hydro in this House, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the good work that we're doing and to respond to the question that was raised by the member opposite. We're talking about hydro rates, and when we're talking about hydro rates, we know that the members opposite have a dismal record over 7.5 years that they can't run from. And, you know, I do appreciate that the critic was not there during the last government, but unfortunately she does still have to answer for the record of the previous government and the decisions they made as it relates to Manitoba Hydro, especially when it comes to rates and the work that they did to make life more expensive for Manitobans. They, over 7.5 years, which is a fairly long time to be in those seats, in the government seats, spent 7.5 years not focused on developing new energy to meet the needs of Manitobans or our businesses or to support the expansion of our economy. They had no vision when it came to moving forward with hydro. And in fact, the only thing that they have to show for 7.5 years in government when it comes to hydro is a long list of novel ways of trying to increase costs on Manitobans. And we know that one of those ways that they did that, which I think, you know, when most Manitobans hear about this, they're deeply concerned about. I would like to think that the members opposite and the critic would feel the same way, but they don't seem to have any degree of concern for this, which is they legislated a hydro rate increase on Manitobans for the first time in our province's history. Wow. That is, you know, we're talking about here, the critic in her question proposed that somehow we're undermining the Public Utilities Board, or there's some evidence that our work to keep rates low is undermining the pub. The reality is they, when they legislated a hydro rate increase, what they did is they forced Manitobans to pay a higher cost for hydro without us as Manitobans having the benefit of that rate increase request be in any way analyzed to determine whether or not it was the Utilities Board, their role of independently reviewing hydro's financial needs, their debt servicing costs, that important work of looking at, you know, what rate increase was actually needed, and instead that bill sought to set hydro rates at the cabinet table. That is not where hydro rates should be set. Hydro rates should be set through an independent process managed by experts at the Public Utilities Board, not at the cabinet table as the members opposite sought to do with Bill 36. Our focus is ensuring affordability, and we know the most important way we can do that is by respecting the role of the pub, ensuring they're empowered to their important work of reviewing rates and playing that role of ensuring costs are as low as possible for Manitobans. We're not going to undermine the pub as they did for 7.5 years.
The member for Roblin.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Narcan is not currently widely available in Manitoba. Manitoba has some of the worst public access to Narcan in the country. Ontario and Quebec far surpass Manitoba in availability, with naloxone and Narcan being available for use freely in all public health facilities. Narcan and naloxone are immediate interventions in an overdose situation and unquestionably have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. Can the Minister please share with the House how many public facilities in Manitoba have naloxone available for public use, and how many public facilities, if any, have the far easier to administer Narcan available for public use?
the Honourable Minister of Housing, Addictions and Homelessness.
Miigwech, and I want to thank the member for that question. It gives me an opportunity to just lay out the last 7.5 years of inaction from the previous government in not taking a harm reduction approach, and just how far back it's put our province in terms of addressing the drug crisis that we're in our province here. We see people, for the last 7.5 years not having access to the services and supports that they need. We've heard that from, so many people on the front lines of so many organizations that were knocking on the door of the previous government, begging them to provide services, begging them to, increase the amount of RAM clinics, to increase the amount of bed-based services that they were providing. Our government is taking a different approach. We're actually listening to frontline organizations. We're actually looking at data. We're listening to experts. And we're actually working with those that are struggling with addictions and working towards getting them the help and supports that they need. So I know that this, members across the way like to paint a picture of, we're supplying folks, needles, but we are actually supplying folks resources, something that the previous government didn't do. What the previous government was doing was they were supplying folks in Swan River 200,000 needles in 2021 without a plan of disposal, without a plan of connecting folks with the proper supports to get into treatment, to get the services that they need, such as trauma-informed counseling, to get into reunification with their children, whatever it was that was leading them to use what they were using. The previous government turned a blind eye to anything that had to do with anyone that was using drugs. They seen it as a failure, a moral failure. Our government doesn't see it as that. We see it as we are meeting Manitobans where they're at, and we heard loud and clear on the doorsteps that Manitobans want to help other Manitobans who are struggling. And that's exactly what we are doing. We've heard for far too long that the previous government, failed time after time. We would walk out of this building and see people in bus shacks. We would see people on the street without the supports that they need. We've invested in RAM, the first Indigenous-led RAM clinic ever in this province that's led by Aboriginal Health and Wellness. We've opened the digital front door, which is leading people to services and supports that they need, something that the previous government never did. They continued to turn a blind eye and just had this attitude of just pull your socks up and get it together. Well, folks need supports. They need to get into treatment. They need transitional housing. You can't simply house a person and expect them to do well. Our ministry was created to support people and meet them where they at, but house them with the supports that they need, whether they need mental health supports, whether they need addiction support, or whether they need both of those to be housed successfully with wraparound supports. We invested in drug checking machines to ensure that people know what they're ingesting. And we are continually investing to ensure that people are getting the supports that they need so that they can live healthy, productive lives. Because we know people need supports to get, trauma-informed, trauma-related counseling. So, back to the member's question. I'll give her the number. There's Narcan that's being distributed across our province, and in 2023 there were 50,000 kits that were distributed through the take-home naloxone program. And again, this is a life-saving medication that is reversing some of the effects, and we're seeing an increase, and the previous government seen an increase and did nothing about this. And again, we are investing to support new initiatives, $700,000 again, to support Sunshine
Order.
House's
The
mobile
member's time has
overdose.
expired. The member for La Vérendrye.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable Chair, thank you for the opportunity to ask a question. Again, follow up to some questions that were asked during estimates from the Minister for Infrastructure and Transportation. Highways maintenance and the safety of our highways is something that many Manitobans value immensely. The highways network is what keeps our economy moving in the province, and it as a result keeps many Manitobans safe on their daily drive. I'd asked the Minister of Infrastructure a question on a substantial budget cut in this year's budget, $57 million from specifically the highways budget. Overall, from her department's budget, there was $157 million cut, $100 million from water infrastructure, but in total, $157 million, $57 million, a substantial cut from the highways budget. And Manitobans in the committee were reassured during estimates that vacancies were being filled within the department in maintenance, and that increases to highway safety and maintenance were being done. Myself and many other Manitobans were skeptical of that, and recently that has been highlighted. We had seen last winter days of inaction by the department on maintenance of one of our major trade routes, Highway 75, leading into Winnipeg from the international border. This was a winter like we haven't seen for many years in Manitoba, a winter of nearly no snowfall and mild conditions, but yet the minimal maintenance that needed to be performed seemingly wasn't done. We could chalk that up to a department that was new in managing the maintenance and addressing winter driving conditions in our province. But recently we saw yesterday police closing off parts of the perimeter highway due to a substantial vehicle pileup, which resulted in one driver being rushed to hospital. It was said by police that they were keeping that stretch of highway closed until Manitoba Highways was able to address the slippery road conditions. Unfortunately, the very next day, we've had a Manitoban die due to slick road conditions. Today, on the 59 highway bridge, a 19-vehicle pileup, resulting in a 55-year-old man from Tyndall passing away. This isn't acceptable. We are right now in one of the nicest Novembers that we've seen in recent history. But as a result, we've got high humidity in the mornings and poor road conditions as a result. But it's seeming that this department is being reactive rather than preventative in its maintenance. So I would like to ask the Minister in committee today to answer to this committee and all other Manitobans, what reassurance can the Minister give us and the rest of Manitobans relying on the safety of the highways to get their loved ones home each day? What reassurance can she give Manitobans that a $57 million cut and continued vacancies in the highways maintenance department, that the safety and maintenance of our Manitoba highways is going to be addressed tomorrow, today, not years from now, and not under socialist NDP ideology.
Before recognizing the minister, I want to draw the attention of all members to the public gallery where we have 60 grade 9 students and their chaperones who are here as part of Take Our Kids to Work Day. On behalf of all honorable members, welcome to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba, and we hope you have an enjoyable time here today. The Honourable Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure, Consumer Protection and Government Services.
Thank you, Chair. So to respond to the questions from the opposition, so we did talk about this quite extensively in our committee, and I would have thought that the member opposite would have understood the difference by now between the maintenance budget and the infrastructure capital budget, but I'll try to break down some of this. To start with, because the member referenced the death of someone on the highway and some serious accidents or collisions that have taken place, I do want to stress to Manitobans that the role of this department is highway safety first. It's the most important thing that we do. That is why one of the things we've developed since coming into office was creating a specialized team of experts to focus on data-driven improvements to increase highway safety. Regarding the budget questions, the $57 million that the member is referring to, he's actually referring to a cut by the previous government. This was a carryover amount that was underspent by the previous government, underspent by them, and then not added to our budget for this year. So they're calling this a cut, but it isn't a cut. It was a cut when it was underspent by the previous government. So we have committed to spend $500 million on highway capital, on infrastructure capital in the province, and we will fulfill that commitment. There were also questions, a lot of questions on that question. There were questions in there about the maintenance budget. And maybe the member is still unaware that the previous government sold off equipment, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, let maintenance equipment fall into disrepair, and fired staff. So absolutely one of the biggest challenges for me coming into this role was to staff up this department and to start to provide the type of highway maintenance that the province expects from this government. There was a reference to what happened on the Perimeter Highway yesterday, and I want to assure Manitobans that the Highway Department inspected that highway earlier in the day. Unfortunately, the icing that occurred led to the pileup that occurred later. That is a tragedy, but I want folks to know that it was inspected earlier in the day, and that it's really important to remind all drivers that we drive to the conditions of the road, because we won't always be on site every minute of the day to know what's happening on the highway, as hard as the department will try to be there. I also want to speak to some of the really exciting projects that are going on in the province. We have invested $12 million into safety upgrades to the intersection at 1 and 5, over $18 million to reconstruct 45 kilometers of PR 224. That was a road that was just brutally ignored by the previous government and fell into total disarray. When I had the chance to drive on that highway, and this is no exaggeration, staff and I were like, wow, it's like a bomb went off here. That's what happened. It's like a bomb went off on our infrastructure with the previous government in power. So I'm very excited about the improvements that we're making there. Investing $8 million to scoping out a new airport for Wasagamak, something they've been asking for 20 years. Implementing rest stops on Highway 6, which isn't just about convenience and comfort for travelers, it's about safety. It gives people the chance to take a break when they're driving, to take care of their personal needs, but also to just take a rest if they need to. We're supporting infrastructure developments in the Port of Churchill. We are also, I know the member also asked about flood protection. I guess he only gets one question because he put everything into this one.
Order.
But
Order. I'd like to remind all members to please keep their thoughts to themselves while I'm trying to hear what's going on in the House. Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Yeah, I guess we're out of time. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry. Tim? Order. If the minister so pleases, she had 25 seconds left in her time. The Honourable Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure, Consumer Protection and Government Services.
There was a question about flood mitigation and about the budget. So I will remind the member opposite that the previous government put $100,000 into the budget for a project year after year that they made no movement on and took no action on. They didn't work with First Nations. They never intended to spend that money. So we're being more responsible with how we lay things out in the budget. We're budgeting for the projects we're doing this year. And unlike members opposite...
Order. The member's time has expired. The member for Red River North.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and it's a pleasure to ask the Minister of Economic Development and talk a little bit about the state of the economy. We had the opportunity to speak in estimates last week, and unfortunately we only had an hour. It's unfortunate for Manitobans, but certainly we'll see if we can get an answer today. The Minister wasn't able to answer because we ran out of time. So I want to take a moment to and we do have 5 minutes today, and I know the Minister will take his full 5 to explain this to Manitobans. I want to take a moment to put some of these facts on the record and then give the Minister an opportunity to talk about what the NDP has done with respect to handling the Manitoba economy and what mess it's in. And I just want to put some things down now. This year alone, just under the lack of leadership of the NDP government, Manitoba families face the highest food inflation in the country. Fresh meat, veggies prices have all jumped 8% last month alone. Family budgets are stretched thin, and Manitobans are being forced to choose between healthy meals and keeping the lights on. Our international exports have just collapsed, down $658 million year to date, which is over 13% year over year. Fewer exports mean, of course, fewer paychecks for working Manitoba families and a weaker economy for everyone in Manitoba. Construction of new homes has fallen by 3.5%, or 200 new units. By the way, Honourable Chair, that, and for the Minister, that is rated 10th out of 10 in the country for housing starts. That means less work for trades and even higher housing options and pricing, for young families trying to get a head start and a head up and a hands up start in life for their young families. Yep. Business bankruptcies are up 25%, and consumer insolvencies have climbed to well over 6%. Small businesses are shutting their doors, and working Manitobans are simply drowning in debt under this NDP government. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Chair, these numbers don't lie. Few can keep up with the rising costs of this big, expensive NDP government. Given the dire state of Manitoba's economy today under the NDP government, how can this minister defend a budget that punishes families and businesses with over $150 million in new taxes while abandoning essential investments in schools, daycares, homes, care homes, community services? Honourable Chair, why is the government choosing big, expensive bureaucracy over supporting hardworking, everyday Manitoba families?
Good question. Great question.
Minister responsible for economic development, investment, trade, and natural resources.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, for the opportunity to respond to Member Opposite's question. And I think it's important for us to continue to build a strong economy here in Manitoba, a diverse and strong economy. I think the member opposite has highlighted a few areas where he'd like to discuss, and he's quite a questioning around several areas today about our economic performance, around inflation, exports, and some other things around small businesses as well. And so I'll touch on some of those, and I think it's also important for us to talk about affordability as well, and Manitoba's challenges around affordability and what we're doing as a government to address them in real and meaningful ways. And so to get to some of the heart of what Member Opposite is talking about, I think, it's too bad he's looking from, a pessimistic view on our economy and our economic potential for the future. I have some stats that I'd like to share with the member as, key economic indicators for Manitoba. These are from Q2 of 2024. A real gross domestic product, or GDP here, is $69.3 billion, and that's up 1.3% year over year. So that's an increase, as well as annual exports also up 19.5%. Housing starts are also up. Q2 of 2024 of 1,977. It's a 16.8% increase year over year. So I mean, there are many metrics that are showing that our economy is moving in a very healthy rate. But I think, a lot of times on Manitobans, things like GDP, exports, housing starts are a bit lost in terms of what that actually means in terms of economic success or not. I think some things that Manitobans really can bank on and are really tangible numbers that are understandable, are digestible for folks are how many Manitobans are employed. So when we look at that, and I think that's a real significant number, our number as of September 2024 was 718,300 Manitobans employed. That's an increase of 2.7% year over year. That means that there are more Manitobans working today than there were a year ago under the former failed PC government. It's really significant, really significant. And so I think that right there is something that is very notable for Manitobans to understand, that we're getting Manitobans to work. We're a party that's supported by workers, that works for workers. We're a party that builds and gets projects off the ground. And not only that, but we support good jobs. And in addition to the fact that we have higher employment numbers in Manitoba, an increase of 2.6% year over year, we also are supporting good jobs. And so the average weekly earnings of Manitobans, this is from July of 2024, is up $1,155.42. Again, a year over year change, an increase of 4.8%, Honorable Chair. So not only is our government prioritizing more Manitobans getting to work, we're also focused on getting Manitobans good jobs, family supporting jobs. And that's why we're very happy to see that our economic plan is working. Our economic plan that's surrounded around affordability for Manitobans. Affordability delivered by initiatives like our gas tax holiday that we brought in, began on January 1st. Not only did it save Manitobans a little bit of money every time they gassed up, on average $500 over the course of a year for average Manitoban, but also the economic impact of that decision was that we had lowest inflation rate.
That's right.
And it drove down food costs and other consumer costs for Manitoba. And those are real successes that we've delivered on our economy. I also want to highlight that our government is also making very important and strategic investments in growing our economy with more good jobs. We recently announced an NFI group support, which will add hundreds of jobs into our economy, in the manufacturing sector, which is one of our largest sectors in our province. Again, strong investments by our government that support more jobs in the clean economy.
The member for Roblin.
The NDP's budget makes no mention of the future or continuation of the alternative response to citizens in crisis team. Will the NDP expand this program to other major urban centres in Manitoba, or have the NDP completely cut this much-needed crisis response team?
Honourable Minister of Housing, Addictions and Homelessness.
Miigwech, I want to thank the member for that question. I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to visit the DCSP Downtown Community Safety Patrol, and just see and listen from the frontline workers just the tremendous work that they're doing to keep our community safe, to work with the downtown biz, but also to work on the front lines with those who are experiencing, whether it's mental health, addictions, or just needing connection with supports. Often that's what folks need, is connection. They need to build a relationship, and that's what these folks are there to do. So we've increased our investments to these community patrols. We're taking a different kind of approach in terms of working alongside police, something that we heard loud and clear from the police, that they want a collaborative approach to working with community. We were also listening to community and listening to those folks when we were knocking on doors. Manitobans told us that they wanted a collaborative approach, a community approach, an approach that really responded to what we were seeing in the community. So accessing resources was one of the crucial things that was missing from the prior government. So Downtown Community Safety Patrol is doing that, or partnership. They're actually, they have this amazing tool where they can pinpoint where the hotspots are, what is going on in which area, whether folks are struggling with addictions in that area, whether there's some high crime rates that are happening, whether folks are experiencing homelessness, where the encampments are. And these folks go and actually visit the encampments. They are communicating with the police and the fire paramedic service. They have a good relationship with them, and they are sharing data, which is such a great tool for both of them to be doing that collaboratively. We've made increasements to the ARC. They're now working into the evenings. They're working 7 days a week. We've increased that by $400,000. We're also working on a youth program in consultation with community to ensure that, again, it's responsive to the unique needs of what we're seeing in the community. Working with frontline organizations, working with the police. We want to ensure that the needs of those that we are servicing are met. For far too long under the previous government, for 7.5 years, those needs weren't met. We see that with what we're seeing today, with the addictions crisis in our community, with the housing crisis. The previous government sold off housing, didn't invest in housing, let the social housing go into disrepair, which is why we see people living in encampments. They didn't invest in harm reduction, which is why we see people struggling with addictions. We're not taking that approach. We're taking a collaborative approach. We are working with law enforcement. We are working with community patrols to ensure that we are connecting people with care. A compassionate way of connecting people with care. From a healthcare perspective, we see addictions treatment as healthcare. We see mental health as healthcare, something that the prior government didn't take an approach. They saw it as a moral failing, and we're not taking that approach. We are working alongside law enforcement and connecting people to care. And that's not just Monday to Friday, but again, that's 7 days a week. And we increase that again with our investments. We are preventing, we've prevented 29% of people presenting in the emergency department for mental health issues. We're working collaboratively across governments in investments. You would have seen the 3 ministers collaborating. That's because we work across departments. No longer do you see a government working in silos like the previous government did.
The member's time has expired. The member for Agassiz.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I know there's a lot to discuss in relation to immigration and labour. I know we have welcomed many great newcomers to our province through the MPMP, and many still are waiting in the queue. And these folks have chosen to come to our great province here of Manitoba. They've chosen to come to be educated. They've come to join the workforce. They've purchased homes and look forward to raising their families in Manitoba. We also, like I said, have a great workforce across our province that contributes to our economy, delivering goods and services, that of which helps to build our communities, and all of which work hard to provide for their families that enjoy life here in Manitoba. And just on that note, I want to say thank you to all those who contribute to Manitoba and continue to build a future here. I'm going to base my question on a comment the Minister of Labour and Immigration made during estimates, and I will quote, "So it's not just that the government is here to try to make every single space unionized. It's to empower workers themselves to be able to do that when they need to, where they need to. Government can't be everywhere all the time." That statement alone leads to many more questions, but in relation to today's discussion, I want to ask the Minister to expand on that and tell me, is the NDP government actively recruiting union membership and creating interference with employment standards? And is there going to be cuts to that department?
the Honourable Minister of Labour and Immigration.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I'd like to first acknowledge the member opposite's last question, which was, is our government attempting or planning to make any cuts to employment standards? The answer is no. Employment standards, folks, they do a very, very important job. They have to investigate complaints to different types of violations of our employment standards laws. Under the previous government, this department was laid bare. We came into government and I visited multiple times our department to see what it was like there. The lights were off. There weren't any workers there. We have a 1-year wait when we first came in from the time somebody files a complaint with employment standards, where a worker would file a complaint before it would get attended to, investigated. So during this year, we've worked really hard to try to fill vacancies in that department to make sure that workers' concerns and complaints are being addressed in a more timely way. This will take time before we can get it up to the level that we need to. In particular, the proactive unit of employment standards was taken away under the former PC government, and this is an important part of the department that we have tried to staff up now. So instead of just acting on a complaint, these workers will workers from the department will be able to investigate in a proactive way certain types of businesses that we feel might be violating employment standards that are being held by the province. As for the members' other questions about our government trying to sign up union memberships, that's not how our government works. We do, like each MLA and different folks in the NDP, we sign up NDP memberships. An NDP membership is $10, and we can, approach people usually in our constituency, community members, friends, family. We sit down and we, have a meeting. We'll go visit them at their house. We'll talk about, what the NDP stands for, what our shared goals and priorities might be. We would sit and get to know family members there, find out about their lives, and usually that was the way that people would open their hearts to us and sign up for an NDP membership. So that's one of the ways that we have to do something like this when we're about to try to get a nomination process. You have to sign up NDP memberships. So the member opposite was not informed of this properly. We don't sign up union memberships. MLAs sign up NDP memberships. But at that same time, though, we do have very close friendships with workers and those that are democratically elected by their fellow workers to lead them. And I do just want to shout out a few of them today. Gina McKay, who is a proud queer Métis feminist woman who has worked to advance the rights of 2S LGBTQ+ Manitoba. And she is the president of her union. Dieth Aquino, a proud member of Queer People of Color, a young worker representative, mental health advocate, and diversity vice president of their union. Vivian Ho, an advocate for women, housing, and food security, and the president of her local, and Margaret Schroeder, who's a Democratic elected.
The member's time has expired. The member for Midland.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Minister of Finance continues to put inaccurate information on the record. The NDP has no ground to stand on when it comes to keeping hydro rates low. The NDP raised them by 5% in 2005, 3% in 2006 and 2007, 5% in 2008, 2009, and another 4% in 2015. In total, the NDP raised hydro rates by 35% during their years in government. The PCs, on the other hand, kept hydro rates low, the second lowest in the country. The Minister repeatedly puts inaccurate information on the record, so I will again table the information that shows that hydro rates in Manitoba were the second lowest in the country under the former PC government in 2021. The NDP government previously maxed out Hydro's credit card and increased rates by 35%. Now they're maxing out the province of Manitoba's credit card as Manitoba's debt is soaring to $35 billion under this minister's watch. He gave himself massive $9 billion in borrowing powers, billions more than in years prior, approved a $710 million special warrant with high interest rates, took a $373 million surplus and turned it into a $2 billion deficit, and now he's running almost a $1 billion deficit this fiscal. S&P Global has indicated Manitoba could return to balance by 2025, yet this minister seems completely unconcerned about Manitoba's debt and debt servicing costs and is not even trying to return to balance. He's planning years of deficits and debts on the back of Manitobans. Interest rates are coming down, yet Fed transfers are going up, almost $1 billion this year from previous year forecasts. I've asked the minister 5 times to commit to eliminating the deficit on record and have yet to receive an answer. With his property tax grab increase of $148 million, how much additional revenue is the minister going to take in once property values are assessed at a higher rate? The minister has also had a week to collect data on his income tax grab. Can he tell us by how much his changes to the basic personal amount will change the forecast in these estimate documents? And with these additional tax revenue on the backs of Manitobans, will he commit to balancing by the 2026 public accounts? Say that out loud.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the question or questions from the critic. And again, it always gives me great pleasure to be able to talk about hydro and the important work we're doing to keep rates affordable, something that we didn't see for a very long time under the former government. I've already had a chance to talk a bit today about some of the work that they did to raise costs on Manitobans when it comes to energy. Of course, in this House, we've had a lot of opportunities to talk about the good work we did in lowering fuel costs for Manitobans through our fuel tax holiday. But of course, that work continues as it relates to working to keep hydro rates low, and our recently released energy policy will, of course, work to support that. And that's very different than what Manitobans experienced for the 7.5 years that the PCs were in government. We've talked here today already about the work that they did to legislate a hydro rate increase on Manitobans through BITSA, the first time that's ever been done in our province's history. Again, taking away that benefit from Manitobans of having that certainty of knowing that rate increase was required because there was no independent oversight. Building on, again, their new and novel creative ways of jacking up hydro rates on Manitobans, we saw Bill 36, a bill that sought to set hydro rates at the cabinet table by setting a number of impossibly hard to achieve financial targets for hydro and doing away with the Public Utility Board's historic role of being an independent reviewer of rates. We respect the pub, and we know that members opposite don't. We saw that time and time again, and that was really their disrespect for the Public Utilities Board and their role of keeping rates low was really enshrined in Bill 36. Proud of the work that we're doing, the amendments we're making to restore the role of the Public Utilities Board of being an independent reviewer of rates, knowing that that's the best way possible of ensuring that Manitobans have the lowest costs for hydro. But we know that disrespect for the Public Utilities Board extends and is very far-reaching when it comes to the members opposite. We saw that with Centra. There was a 2-year period, Mr. Chair, 2 years, where they were being asked to file for Centra, and they, through their mismanagement, and again, a long chronicle of failures when it comes to hydro and Centra, failed to honor that request from the pub, failed to actually follow the law. So what happened as a result of that, Chair? Manitoba, our government, and hydro were fined every single day for 2 years due to their mismanagement. And those fines, those had to be paid by someone, and unfortunately, their mismanagement, their inability to provide proper oversight to Centra and hydro, those fines ended up getting put back on Manitobans' backs. That's the reality under their leadership, is that we have this chronicle of failures over and over again and a long series of efforts to undermine the role of the Public Utilities Board. We know how problematic that is and how that's hurt Manitobans and ultimately hurt affordability in Manitoba. When it comes to overall fiscal management, again, there was a chronicle of failures and mismanagement when it came to hydro and Centra, but we can just extend that, their mismanagement and that record to their overall failure to properly oversee our provincial budget. And we saw the impacts of that with, of course, the recent release of public accounts, where we saw that they left us a $2 billion hole to climb out of. And again, the members opposite don't have to take our word for it. They can listen to the highly respected independent accounting firm MNP, who had a lot of tough words for them in terms of their budgetary decisions or their failure to provide good oversight over that budgetary process. Of course, we know that they also sought to hide the realities of their decision-making from Manitobans when they came forward with an update in late July before the last election and didn't disclose the direction of hydro profits, didn't disclose the direction of tax revenues, all in a desperate attempt to stay in government. Again, that lack of transparency, that lack of accountability is a long thread we see in their behavior, their decision-making. That's not what Manitobans want. They want a government committed to fiscal accountability, fiscal sustainability. That's exactly what they're getting from our government. We're committed to that balanced budget commitment in the last year of our mandate. and Manitobans can expect that we're going to work every single day to deliver on it.
The member for Selkirk.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. As I stated earlier, my experience with estimates has varied from one department to another, from not getting answers and to actually getting some distinctive answers. So my question is for the Minister of Sport, Culture, Heritage and Tourism. And although my colleague from Dawson Trail and I both agree that our estimate time was not long enough, I do appreciate the fact that we actually got some answers, so hopefully we can get an answer on this one. No support has been outlined in the estimates document for the incredible, successful, and PC government-funded Signature Museum Sustainability Fund, a fund that supports the most important museums in the province. This fund supported the most important museums all across the province, including the Commonwealth Air Training Plan Museum in Brandon, the new Iceland Heritage Museum in Gimli, the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada in Winnipeg, the Mennonite Heritage Village in Steinbach, and the Manitoba Agricultural Museum in Austin, as well as the St. Boniface Museum in Winnipeg, and let's not forget the Canadian Fossil Discovery Centre in Morden. These museums are not only cultural keystones in our province, but also a major tourist attractions. Can the minister confirm for the House if they have cut government support for this extremely important fund?
Oh, that's a great question. They're cutting it?
L'honorable ministre responsable du sport, la culture, l'héritage et du tourisme.
I want to thank the member from Selkirk for that question. It actually gives me an opportunity to speak about my favorite subject, Manitoba. Right? Hey, let's hear some applause for our province. You know, well, I think part of one of them. You know, it's all the great thing about this department. You know, people waited 7.5 years for a new government.
Yep.
They've waited 7.5 weeks for the Minister of Sport, Culture, and Heritage to speak in the chamber, because the only thing I get to share right now is great news. The Bombers are in the Western Final. Right? Hey, let's go. The Jets are 12-1. Yeah. You know, I'd love the record to reflect that you didn't even cheer for the Jets. But maybe you'll cheer about the following news I have to share about museums in Manitoba. Just this last week, a number of letters went out to all of our community museums. We're proud to not only provide that funding, but also top up funding to make sure that these museums continue to operate. And I really appreciated the question about the signature museums, because I've been to them all and they're all fantastic. You know, one of my favorite memories when I was coaching hockey was going to tournaments in Morden. You know, we'd show up on a Friday night, we'd have a game. So obviously we'd leave Brandon probably around 4 o'clock. We'd get in about 7. We'd have an 8:30 game. So we weren't able to do very much. But the next morning, where was our first stop? We went and saw Bruce. Bruce in the basement there of the arena. It's a really great spot. And it has great memories for myself and the boys. And every year we would book that tournament in Morden. It was actually a really great tournament. So a shout out to the people in Morden for putting that on. Then we would probably, win a couple games, go out for supper, and the next morning we'd stop in the Manitoba Hall of Fame for baseball. Shout out to the Crocus Plains baseball team from the early 2000s who were just nominated to the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame. First high school baseball team to have that honor. And we support museums. We support our cultural institutions with generational increases to the Manitoba Arts Council, with doubling dollars to the CCFM, with investments of extra $500,000 to the MCCC where the Manitoba Museum is located. And we're committed. We're committed to building this province and telling the stories of this province. We had the opportunity to travel up to Gimli multiple times this summer, and I can tell you that the Icelandic Heritage Museum is quite an impressive spot to visit. And being able to support these organizations through our signature museums projects is just rewarding as a government. And one of the great scenes from this summer was browsing through my social media was to see the Minister of Crown Lands wearing his cowboy hat in Austin. You know, I think it was a pretty hot day that day when you were out there. But it was nice to see my colleague out there meeting everyone from the really important museum that they have there. And I would actually encourage my members opposite while they're waiting for future answers or just caucusing to take a look at the fastest 2 minutes in tourism put on by Travel Manitoba. They actually do a really great job with that. And I believe that in that fastest 2 minutes, they actually talk about all of the signature museums that we do have in here. On top of that, the jewel that we have in the Manitoba's provincial capitals downtown at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. So we know that in Manitoba we have a really large capacity to be able to preserve our history, not only with the people who work in the archives, but the people that work in those community museums that we're so happy to support. So again, This question's all about the great news and the things that we're doing in Manitoba to be able to talk about our history in a meaningful way, but also keep an eye on the future. And the future of Manitoba really is bright. And I would encourage every single person in the chamber to visit one of our beautiful museums. Thank you.
Leader of the official opposition.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. So it's interesting that the member for Brandon East took 5 minutes to consult with his staff for that answer, just to again applaud the Bombers and the Jets. Of course, we're all very much proud of both, for sure. My question is going to be relatively quick, and it's actually directed to, I don't know who's talking on that side, Honorable Chairperson, but anyways, whatever. So, Honorable Chairperson, so the question's actually directed at a couple ministers there, because they're going to have to probably team up and get this. So it's first directed technically to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, because she is the de facto mayor of the Whiteshell Provincial Parks, which I have the pleasure of representing. And so we need to work together, as she said multiple times in the past, that we need to work together on various different things, because I'm the MLA for the area and she's the minister, so that's good. So I'm hoping that whether it's the Premier that answers this question, or even the member who is the Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations and Minister of Indigenous Economic Development. So in the past, Honorable Chairperson, various organizations within the parks, and as I mentioned, they're not part of any particular one municipality. So working with the minister, working with the local MLA in order for them to get certain funding. And I'm not going to bring up the cut that has been done to parks this year. So I'm hoping that there's other revenue sources that we can tap into. So I'm asking the Minister of Environment and Climate Change to help out, because again, she's the de facto mayor, and we've actually have quite a few mutual friends in that area, I understand. So that's sort of cool. So precedent has been set in the past where some parks organizations have been able to access some Manitoba government grant programs. And so a couple organizations have reached out to the Manitoba Grow Fund, and they've been denied because, of course, that's directed straight to municipalities. So I'm hoping that, and I'll just mention one of them, but there's quite a few because I know that we're on a shortened timeline here. The Southeast Whiteshell Fire Department had asked for a grant opportunity to be included in the Manitoba Growth and Renewal Opportunities Program. And so I'm just hoping that the de facto mayor, the Minister for Environment and Climate Change, will work with me to hopefully ask the Minister of Municipal Relations to grant the opportunity for the organizations within the parks, because they're not actually a municipality, to be able to apply for some of these programs. And so I'm asking the member for municipal relations if in fact this particular organization, and there's many, but this particular organization, the Southeast Whiteshell Fire Department, can get that approval to be able to apply to the Manitoba Growth and Renewal Opportunities Fund.
the Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. And I appreciate the question because it gives me an opportunity to put some words on the record about our amazing provincial parks here in Manitoba. I do absolutely love the Whiteshell Provincial Park. This summer I was able to spend time with my family out in the Whiteshell at several different campgrounds: Otter Falls, Brereton, Nudimick, Big Whiteshell. It's absolutely world-class camping and recreation that the Whiteshell offers. And as much as I love the Whiteshell and all of our provincial parks, I would never claim to be the mayor of the Whiteshell. I would like to think that the member opposite offers that as some sort of compliment, but based on his record here in the House, I know it's meant as some sort of derogatory punch or something. But anyways, happy to talk about parks. Happy to talk about the Southeast Whiteshell Fire Department. And we're very grateful for those workers. It's a very important work and a very important service that they offer to the cottage owners and the campers and the wildlife and the natural environment in the Whiteshell. The service they offer is incredibly important, and we honor and recognize their work. The member opposite is correct that the GROW program, the Growth, Renewal, and Opportunities for Municipalities program, is available to municipalities. The Southeast Whiteshell, I mean the Whiteshell generally, Whiteshell Provincial Park, does exist within a couple different RMs. So I think there's some great opportunity there to work together with the municipality, with the relevant municipality, to take advantage or to apply for this amazing fund. $42 million put forward by our excellent Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations. $42 million invested right here in Manitoba for critical infrastructure projects that focus on community renewal, disaster mitigation, climate resiliency, and recreation. So my understanding is that the intake period is still open. Yeah. So I'd be more than happy to hear from and work with both the Southeast Whiteshell Fire Department and the incredible Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations to explore opportunities to help support this incredible partner that we have in the Southeast Whiteshell Fire Department. But I'd like to take a little bit of time to remind the committee about the cuts that we saw for 7.5 years to our parks here in Manitoba. So many. Oh, we could talk all night about the cuts that the Tories made to our parks.
Tried to sell the parks.
Their agenda was to cut positions, to sell off our parks, to privatize our parks and our park services. They sent contracts down to Texas-based companies, causing scandals, privacy scandals that Manitobans remember, leaving Manitobans vulnerable.
Not going to forget it either.
But we have a different approach on this side of the House when it comes to parks. We are increasing staffing for our parks. We're working with partners. We're working with the federal government to obtain funding for our parks.
Order. The member's time has expired. The member for Red River North.
No further questions.
Hearing no further questions, is the committee ready for the question? The question before the committee is the motion moved by the Honourable Minister of Justice that the Committee of Supply concur in all supply resolutions related to the estimates of expenditures for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025, which has been adopted at this session, whether by a section of the Committee of Supply or by the full committee. Shall the motion pass? The motion is accordingly passed. This concludes the business before us. Committee rise. Call in the Speaker.
Order, please. The House is now back in session. The Honourable Member for St. Boniface.
Merci, l'Honorable Président. The Committee of Supply has adopted a motion regarding concurrency in supply. I move, seconded by the Honourable Member for St. River, that the report of the committee be received.
Thank you, sir. So it's been moved by the Honourable Member for St. Boniface, seconded by the Honourable Member for St. River, that the report from the Committee of Supply be adopted. Is it the will of the House to adopt the report? Therefore, the report is hereby adopted. Just for clarity, the members, the Committee of Supply has adopted a motion regarding concurrence in supply. And the motion is accordingly passed. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. Is it the will of the House to see the clock 5 p.m.?
The will of the House to see it clock as 5 p.m. Then the time now being 5 p.m., this House is recessed and adjourned and stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.